Welcome, everybody. It is so fun to see all of you here. Welcome, welcome. For those of you who don't know me yet, I'm Alicia.
I'm Erwan.
And so this is, first of all, Tantra and sexual energy. Everything you want to know to supercharge your love life so you're all in the right place. And this is a session of Mastery of Relationship, which is a weekly group online class that we have. Every once in a while, we open it up so people can bring their friends and new people can come. So many of you are in Mastery of Relationship and many of you are guests. So welcome. I want to say something about two extra special people in Mastery of Relationship, Matt and Tessa. Matt and Tessa are getting married this week. Yay! We're so excited and happy. Erwan and I have known Matt and Tessa since right when they got together, so it's a huge joy for us. So congratulations to you guys. So how the night's going to go is in a moment, we're going to do a meditation. It'll be about 15-20 minutes or so. Then we're going to dive into the topic even further of Tantra and sexual energy. So feel free to chat in questions, chat in comments, really participate. We'll do a short exercise in the breakout rooms. So all of you get the chance to meet each other and share. And then those of you who are new, we'll find out how you can get more involved here. And I have a free gift for each and every one of you. Then after that, we'll take some questions and comments and shares. And we're going to end by 9. Now, I want to say something. Many of you are doing this already. Have your videos on so we can see your faces. You can see our faces. You will get so much more out of this if you really bring yourself here. Many of you might have been on a bunch of Zoom meetings today for work or whatever. And, we really just invite you to come full force here tonight.
All right, let's do a guided meditation. So let your posture be your best meditation posture. You want to have yourself be really relaxed. Very important to be relaxed during meditation. And you want yourself to be alert, right? So typically, we're sitting and our back is as upright as possible. Maybe you want some support behind your back so that your chest can really be open. Let that happen. Let your chest really be open. See what that's like. Take a deep breath into that open chest. Let yourself begin to settle down from your day or your week. Let yourself really drop into your experience. And the physical body is a good place to start. Noticing, what does your physical body feel like? What sensations are you experiencing? And let your concentration on your posture, on your body, really focus you, really bring you right here. Right to where you are, right in your experience, your body, your life, your day, your chair, your couch. So you can really drop right into your experience, right into what's going on for you. And again, the body is a good place to start. We're going to go beyond that. But I strongly recommend you feel the sensations in your body. That will ground you. Let yourself really settle. Let yourself be grounded. And from that ground, let your spine lift. So there's also alertness, crispness, awareness, consciousness. It's this balance of relaxation and alertness, crispness, awareness. Now, we've already covered the most important part of tonight, talking about awareness and groundedness and sensation. We're going to go into all kinds of sexy stuff. But the most important part is you, your presence, your experience, your being awake. You're giving yourself permission to be right where you are, exactly where you are, where exactly how your experience is. And we tend to kind of unconsciously hop over that. We tend to skip that, especially the physical part. We can become sort of neck up in our heads, etc. That's not going to work for sex, and that's not the path of Tantra. The path of Tantra is a physical, energetic, sometimes sexual path. Your presence, your body, your experience is required. So really let yourself settle into what's going on for you. That doesn't mean think about it. It means experience it, taste it, touch it, feel it. What's it like in your heart? What's it like in your legs? Now, this does require concentration. Concentration is in short supply these days. We're, technology, we're often very distracted, all kinds of stuff. We can be a little bit away from ourselves. There's no spiritual advancement without concentration. Concentration is the ability to focus, the ability to settle. In this case, the ability to concentrate on your physical experience. Your concentration will lapse, your attention will go someplace else, you'll start thinking about work or the dishes or whatever. That's fine, that's normal. Just gently bring your concentration back to your physical experience. What's going on in your legs, in your belly, in your chest? What does it feel like to take a breath? Meditation starts with grounding. And don't be afraid to notice the mundane sensations, the weight of your body, the feeling of the chair or the couch pressing on your back or your legs, the feeling of your clothing. Now, once you feel like you've got some contact with your body, let your attention get more subtle and notice that there's a feeling of energy in and around your body. Sometimes called the subtle body, the energy body, all kinds of names for it. This is very important for tantric practice. this energy body. So notice maybe it's pulsing or bubbling or tingling. Maybe it feels like currents of electricity. Maybe it feels like warmth or heat. Maybe in some places it's really active and in some places it's kind of stagnant. Whatever the energy feels like in and around your body, welcome that sensation, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. And this is another essential part of meditation, welcoming your experience regardless of whether it feels good or not good, it's exciting, it's boring, it's calm, it's peaceful, it's ecstatic, however it is, just welcome your experience. Right now we're focusing on the energetic experience. The energetic experience is very related to your vital energy, which is very related to your sexual energy. Take some concentration, take some focus, take some settling down. But notice the bubbling, the tingling, the popping, the heat. And notice that if you locate this vital energy and you concentrate on it, it increases. Just like if you're doing some fine dining, take a bite of something incredibly yummy with all kinds of sophisticated flavors. The more you concentrate, the more it increases the sensation, the taste. Let that vital energy, that experience of it, increase. Even if you feel just a little tiny bit of it, really acknowledge it, really celebrate it. And scan your body. Notice it might be more in the legs, it might be more in the heart, it might be more in the sex center, it might be more in your head. Where is that energy? Where are you feeling it more? How is it for you? And notice that it kind of follows your attention. So if you focus on your foot, you feel it there. You focus on your heart, you feel it there. That's a big clue for the Tantric path, because if you focus in your sex center, you'll feel something there, maybe some tingling, maybe some bubbling, maybe you feel kind of excited or turned on. Maybe it feels really cool and kind of empty. It really doesn't matter how it feels. What matters is that you place your attention in this more subtle dimension of you, this energetic dimension, and include your whole body, including your sex center. What's that like for you? So you're playing with your energy, you're enjoying it. You're not pushing it around, you're not forcing it, you're not trying to make it some way and not some other way, you're not trying to feel good. You know what I'm saying? You're just playing with it, you're just exploring, you're tasting it, you're feeling it, you're open to it, you're surrendered, you're concentrated. And you're including the vital center or the sex center. This is a very important part of you. It's a type of transmitter for life, life force, life energy, whatever you want to call it. It's a type of transmitter. It activates the life energy. It enlivens it. It invigorates it. We get more turned on romantically, sexually, more turned on to life. So let your concentration continue to deepen into this energetic dimension, and even this sexual dimension, right? This romance, this sexuality, this bubble, this tingling. Maybe it's an ache in the genitals. Maybe it's a current of juicy energy there. Maybe it rises from there up your body. Or maybe it's a cool pool, infinite and sparkling. But really acknowledge it. Our sex center, our sexual energy, our energy itself is very discounted, is very ignored. So a lot of tonight is going to be about you contacting that energy, feeling it. That's the most important part of the Tantric approach, is feeling it, acknowledging it, contacting it, instead of discounting it or ignoring it or being unconscious to it. And it will follow your attention. So right now, what I'd like you to do is, during your inhalation, just see or feel or even imagine that energy going up your spine all the way to the top of your head. And then during the exhalation, gently down the front of your body, right into your sex center, not skipping the sex center. Inhaling up the back, exhaling down the front. Inhaling up the back, exhaling down the front with a little extra attention in the yummy zone, the sexy zone. Notice that approval, it adds something. The sex center responds to that. The vital energy starts to move. It starts to accelerate. So getting turned on really requires some concentration. One of the questions Alicia and I get the most is, oh, there's a lack of chemistry in my relationship or in my life or whatever. Well, if you concentrate on this energy, especially in the sex center, it's like a magic elixir. And the approval, the acceptance, the celebration is very important for flicking that switch, for getting turned on. It's sexually turned on, but it's more than that. It's turned on to life. It's turned on to love. It's turned on to yourself. Whether your experience is pleasant or unpleasant or however it is, you're just open, alive, active. That energy is moving. Breathe it up the spine, down the front. And now take a deep breath. And just notice where that leaves you. Feel your energy, feel your body, feel your mind, feel your heart. See if you can be a big yes to your experience. And then slowly, if your eyes are closed, let them open. And as they open, just let the visuals come to you, so that sensitivity is probably a good word for it, right? That sensitivity that you've cultivated, so that stays with you. That receptivity, that sensitivity. Because we're opening to a particular energy, a sexual energy. We're opening to that. We're feeling that. We're embracing that. But we're also opening to vital energy. We're also opening to love, to life, to heart, to mind. So just let the impressions, the sound of my voice, the visuals, just let them all come to you. So you stay in that state of openness and bring some concentration to that openness, to that practice. This is required. We're going to go to some amazing places tonight, but you are required. Your presence is required. If it's filtered through just kind of the mental mind, or, we're kind of intellectualizing it, or it's not going to work, right? But if you're here feeling sensitive, open, we're going to go to some amazing places tonight. So I'm really excited to be with you tonight.
So I'm going to take a couple minutes, and for those of you who are new, I'm going to walk you through who we are and what we do, and kind of an orientation, if you will. So as you know now, I'm Alicia and this is Erwan, and since 1995 we've supported over 10,000 singles and couples in creating soulful and sexy relationship lives. So we're based in the Bay Area, we're in San Francisco, obviously, we're everywhere now. Many of you are from different states and cities and maybe even countries. So now, a lot of people find they want support in their relationships, and it could be because there's a challenge, maybe you're single and you're really wanting to get into that kind of relationship with the attraction and the juice and the commitment. Couples come to us for increasing chemistry, increasing passion, really. And sometimes things are pretty good, but people just want more expansion. There can be psychological issues getting in the way of one's relationship life, or sexual issues. So we address all of that through our method, the Davon Method. So there's 5 parts to that. The first one is bringing consciousness, awareness to those hidden relationship patterns that we all have as human beings that are driving our love lives, usually unbeknownst to us, right? So bringing all of that into the light, making deep contact with yourself, your true self. There's many names for this true self.
And you just did a lot of that, and that's the most important part. You're the most important part. So keep yourself with that concentration and that sensitivity and that full feeling.
From there, we unleash the chemistry that's possible between the masculine and the feminine. And believe me, there's a lot. I'm feeling it in my body right now.
She just says that. It's like, oh.
Yes. Yeah. So unleashing that's really possible. And from there, I like to call it choreography, learning how to move through the stages of romantic relationship, how to succeed, whether you're completely single or really in a deep relationship, getting all those skills. And then last but not least, cultivating your sexual potential. So those are the parts of our method. And something we know about all of you is that you don't need more information. We know you don't need more information because we all get bombarded with lots of information all day. So what Erwan and I are really about is hand-holding you through the process of creating that relationship or taking the relationship that you're in to new heights. Now, a little bit about us and our backgrounds. Why don't you say something first?
Wow.
Who are we to be doing this?
If we go to my background from a long time ago, it's kind of a downer. So I'm going to skip it and say I had a very, very difficult childhood. My parents' relationship was, let's just say dysfunctional. But all of that difficulty propelled me into transformation. I was in psychoanalysis at 15 years old, multiple days a week. Then I studied psychology at the University of California, Santa Cruz. Then I taught transformational courses for the world's largest transformational organization. During that, I spent some time living in a monastery. Then I was director of a yoga ashram. So I just dove into everything that had to do with not being limited by the box that I was sort of born into with my family and the difficulties and all the challenges, right? And it worked, and I was present and happy. And then I took a look at, well, what's the part of it that's really exciting for me? What am I the most interested in? And I actually literally took out a piece of paper. I was like, okay, what am I the most interested in? And I've been teaching transformational courses now, and like, what do I want to focus on? And I just kind of did sort of a free write, right? So I'm like, okay, free write, and just what's my handwriting? Women. Whoa! You know, so then it really all became about romance and relationship. And, you know, after a bunch of getting sort of tuned up by a bunch of women, basically, I found Alicia.
And I'm grateful for the tune-ups. You know, Erwan was amazing and in amazing shape when I found him. And I met Erwan because I was studying in a master's program, a psychology master's program. I was about to finish it, and I was slowly becoming more and more obsessed with not only psychology, but sexuality, female sexuality, and what was possible. And one of my best friends to this day, but she was a close friend in my program, Shayna, said, Alicia, you got to meet this guy, Erwan. You know, he teaches this course called the Pleasure Course, and there's this technique called extended orgasm that people learn from him and his organization. I'm like, take me to this guy, like, say no more. So the long story short is, we started dating. I did experience said extended orgasm. I was hooked. And when I finished my master's program, instead of going to do the therapy thing like I thought I was going to do, I jumped into his organization. So now, I mean, we've been married for 11 years now, together for almost 20 years. Oh,
we have a beautiful little boy. If I don't see him for 5 hours, it's like I have to see him every 5 hours, or I go into some kind of jonesing, missing him.
Yeah.
So with my history, if I can have a successful relationship, anybody can do it. You may have a phenomenal relationship now you want to take to new heights, or your relationship may have some difficulties, or you may be single. But you can take it really to any place you want to, and we're going to cover a very important part of that tonight.
Mm-hmm. So let's dive in, shall we?
All right, let's dive in. So Tantra. There's a lot of confusion about Tantra and what Tantra means. What Tantra means is the esoteric traditions in Buddhism and Hinduism. Esoteric basically means advanced or central. So it's the most central, most advanced techniques and methods in Buddhism or Hinduism. And there's a whole section of Tantra that's very inclusive of things like sex and relationship, as well as taking a very energetic approach to spiritual development, right? So Tantra is kind of the advanced or most central teachings in the Eastern teachings, and there's a whole section that we could call sexual Tantra that's very focused on relationship and sexuality and an energetic approach to life. So we'll show you a couple of pictures so you can kind of get the vibe and the feeling of it. It's a very dynamic, very colorful practice. So, you know, here you can see the colors, the feeling, the vibe, the happiness. It's not what we often associate with spiritual transformation or spiritual development, right? I love this. This is a temple in India. Here's the Shiva Shakti statue. So in our hearts, we know that this method, this approach, this feeling, this including our genitals, our sex, each other, relationships, I think most people know in their hearts, like, this is a really good idea, but we also tend to know it's really challenging. And that's one of the reasons why they're considered advanced practices and why most spiritual or religious teachings kind of ignore them, because it's very easy for it to go wrong. It's very easy to not succeed at it, that kind of thing. But it's very important to us. And we're at a stage in history where, you know, you're probably not going to move. I lived in a monastery for a while, but you're probably not going to move off to a monastery. You probably don't want to give up your job. You probably don't want to give up your relationship or your sex life. And as far as we're concerned, you don't need to. You know, take a really direct approach, and it's a very energetic approach. So really let yourself feel right now. What does your energy feel like? What does it feel like to be embracing your whole life, to be including this part of your life, which might be challenged, might have some issues, might be difficult, you might not know what to do? Well, I'm going to tell you the most important thing to do in Tantra, I'll tell you right now, right at the beginning of the class, is to contact that energy, to really feel that energy, right? So let yourself really concentrate on it. Let yourself stick with the vibrations, the heat, the currents, maybe the turn on, right? You know, I'm feeling kind of turned on, right? You know, it's okay to feel turned on, to really let yourself feel it. Don't let your inner critic get all over it, your superego, your judge. Let yourself feel it. See if it doesn't kind of move and enliven you and kind of activate you, even as we're just talking about it. And even if it's just a little bit, let yourself have that experience. See if you can be a big yes to it. A lot of spiritual practices are about no, not this, not this, not Tantra. Tantra is a very big yes. There's a lot of ways you could work with your energy. You could circulate it, you can merge, condense, absorb, transform the energy, the feeling, the sex energy, all the rest of that. We'll get into some of that later. But the most important part is contacting it. Okay, so we're really sort of belaboring this point, so you concentrate on it, so you feel it, so that this class isn't taken at a mental level, so that it's experiential. Now, sexual energy is a very important bandwidth on the spectrum of life, on the spectrum of everything, right? We could say at one end there's rocks, right? Physical matter, stuff, it's inert, right? And then as we get more subtle, there's energy, there's heat, you know, I'm not an astronomer, but on Mars, I imagine there's rocks or a core of Mars or something like that. But what's a planet that's close to the sun? God,
Mercury.
Mercury is close to the sun. Okay,
Mercury is the first one.
The first one
to the sun. It's like that puzzle upstairs. I've been studying it.
So there's
our sun has a solar system puzzle. Test me.
What's the second one?
Venus.
Whoa! All right, great. All right. And the third one? Earth. Okay, great. So on Mercury and Venus, there's a lot of heat, right? So there's a lot of energy. We go from matter to energy, right? But as life comes into being, that energy is a vital energy. It's an alive energy. We could say vital energy. We could say sexual energy. It's a very important bandwidth on the spectrum of reality or the spectrum of life. Then we get into emotion, which is more subtle, mind, and we could say pure awareness. But for our purposes, just know that there's a bandwidth, kind of like a chain with links. If the sexual energy or the vital energy is cut out of that chain, it's not good. There's a loss of being turned on to life. There's a loss of vitality. Obviously, there's a loss in relationship and romance. There's a loss of energy. So it's a very important part of ourselves to contact.
Now, sometimes it can be sort of easy to turn away from that energy, right? We just tend to do that, even though it's us, it's who we are. So let's talk for a moment about the costs of turning away from that energy. You know, what are the costs? I'd like for you to chat in your thoughts on the costs. For example,
What are the costs of ignoring sexual energy, desire, and longing?
yes, the costs of ignoring it. For example, could be that energy and vitality decreases, or your sex life disappears, which happens with people sometimes, right? So this is great.
Regret,
You're not living in an authentic way.
addictions.
Anger and mood swings, absolutely.
God, you guys are coming up
This
with
is
really
great.
good stuff. Pent up energy is painful, sadness.
Yes, overeating.
Numbness, isolation.
Loneliness. Lack of closeness with other humans. Cut off from other people. Yeah, this is really great. You guys are really present to the costs of ignoring our sexual energy and that energy and that life force.
Lack of joy, being cut off from ourselves, right? Like our sexual energy, our sex center is not part of ourself. Of course it's part of ourself. It's how being creates more being.
Now let's talk about a related topic, which is, what are some things that actually devitalize us and diminish sexual energy? What are some of those things? You can chat them in. I mean, already I'm thinking, excessive screen time and computer use, or misuse of pornography. Notice I'm not saying pornography. Have at it if you like porn, nothing wrong with it. Sometimes it can be misused and it leads to a diminishment of sexual energy.
So, what are the ways that we can devitalize ourselves? We're going to talk a little bit about, I'm going to be sort of graphic if you permit me. Like ejaculating a lot for men devitalizes us, right? What are the ways that we've talked about ignoring this energy? What are the ways that we can throw this energy away and devitalize ourselves? Guilt, blame.
Yeah, unforgiving others, too much to do, stress.
Right?
Yeah, these are good. Holding back,
lack of presence, right? Religion, especially if it's kind of more in a kind of like strict condemning sense.
Yeah.
Right? Picking fights with others, alcohol. Right, exactly.
Yeah, so this is great. So you all can keep chatting in your thoughts, chat in questions. We'll get to some when we can, but we really want you guys to be here participating like you are. It's awesome. So now let's talk about some ways this can go right. When you really attend to your sex energy and your life force and your vitality and you enjoy it, how can that go right? I'm having this really vivid memory. A bunch of years ago, Erwan and I were at a sex party, right? We're at this sex party. It was awesome. The lighting was just amazing, and we were in this big back room, and really well done sex parties are great because there's always a place where if you're not wanting to be sexual, you can hang out or you can dance or chat like a normal party. And then there was this big back room. So we go back there and I see this mattress at the corner. I'm like, let's just go back there, and do our thing, just back there. And then there were people doing all sorts of stuff, like bondage and ropes, and people had costumes on and toys and equipment. There was so much going on in this room. So we go there and we start to have an extended orgasm date, right? I laid on my back and Erwan's stroking my clitoris, and I was really, really feeling the energy, and we were having such a good time. And then there was this moment where I kind of like lifted my head up and I looked around, and eyes were on us, like from all these different corners of the room. And there was this woman like kind of next to us with her partner, and she was like pointing to us and telling her boyfriend, do this. And there was this palpable energy in the room from this extended orgasm. So I'm telling you, this whole room was vibrating from that energy.
So this is one of the ways it can go right, is when there's consciousness and heart. I'll give you, this isn't a class in sexual technique, but attention to the woman's clitoris. Really, really important, right? So chat in, what are the ways it can go right, right? Good, great, great.
Access to higher dimensions of clairvoyant ability.
Feeling safe and valued. This is a very important point. For sexual energy to go right, it's got to be connected to heart. It's got to feel safe, right? I'm not saying don't be edgy. I'm from New York. I'm all about edgy, right? But if the sex center and the heart center are connected, it can really go right. There's presence. It can go to new places. And I love Alicia bringing us back to that share, because there we are. We're just kind of doing our thing. And like, it has a particular vibe. It has a particular vibration. People can just kind of feel it. And it's our birthright. It's your birthright to include that part of yourself, turn it on, let it move. And then in relationship with somebody else, you can really optimize that. We'll talk a little bit more about extended orgasm later. This isn't a class on extended orgasm. This is a class on Tantra. And feeling that sexual energy, really contacting that and using that for your growth and development. It's like having a super battery or a supercharge, not only into your sex life, but into all parts of your life. So that's why we talked about what it's like to exclude it or ignore it or diminish it, because the costs are severe. When you don't, boom, you know, everything works better.
When Erwan and I got engaged, so we went down to Tulum, Mexico, right? It was our first time there. We've since been a dozen times, not lately, obviously, but we love it there. And this trip was just so special because we really and deliberately infused our whole experience with this sexy energy. And we were hanging out one day, I mean, the beach right in front of our little hut that we were living in, it was like a nude beach, basically. Like everybody on it was nude, and you kind of weren't supposed to be nude, but we were. You know, look at this. I thought this was pretty funny. Look at this sign. Nudity is strictly forbidden, but there we are, right? And this was like what was going on this entire beach. And we were deliberately enjoying our bodies and the sex and our sensuality. And the day that we actually got engaged, we were walking down this empty white sand beach, okay, like completely empty. And Erwan was taking pictures of me, and he was like, I'm a model, and he was just paying attention to me, and it just felt so good, and I was so turned on. And then soon after that was the moment where he got down on one knee, literally, guys, this is the moment that he proposed. He had set up a camera, got the shot, everything. Right after this moment, I gave him the best blowjob on the beach that anyone has ever given anyone. I swear to God. I mean, as of back then, now there have been even better ones, right?
Like this morning.
Right, exactly. But my point is, it really takes things up a notch or many notches to attend to the sexual energy and enjoy that. It adds this brightness and this fun.
So we're trying to make this as simple and clear as possible, being a big yes to that energy, and that sexual energy turns everything good in your life exponentially on, especially romance and relationship, obviously, but everything else as well. And it moves relationships forward. It was one of the things I loved about Alicia. She was so turned on and such a yes to that, that our relationship just kind of like zoomed into interesting places. So I want to now talk a little bit about something more practical. Okay, and this is mostly for the guys and for the women in a certain sense, and that you have a guy or guys in your life, or will, or however that goes for you. But one of the things that the tantric practices recommend, to give you one of the basics, usually they sort of, the texts, the sort of ancient texts often start with this because it's so important, is to limit ejaculation. right? Because there's something about when a male ejaculates, there's a loss of energy, feel kind of sleepy, feel kind of down, takes a little while to build that energy back up. We're not saying don't ejaculate, we're not saying never do that, but we're saying if it's overdone, and if it's overdone when you're alone, guys, it really will devitalize that energy and that impetus to get into a relationship with a woman, or if you're in a relationship to, attend to your wife. Do you know what I'm saying? Or your girlfriend, or however that goes for you. So it also when we limit ejaculation, it trains us to be romantic and sensual and sexual in a non-goal-oriented way. So this is another principle of Tantra, what we call a pleasure orientation. So instead of being one step ahead of yourself, when am I'm going to speak, I'm from New York, I'm going to speak sort of crass ghetto for a minute. When am I going to get to bust my nut? When am I going to get to the end? All the rest of that. Instead of taking that approach, to really be enjoying every stroke, every sensation like you're fine dining, right? And then, there will be times when you want to ejaculate or it's just so turned on and you do, but it's not going to be at the level that devitalizes you. Now, let me tell you how to do that, right? Because there's one way of not ejaculating, which could be called being very, very tense and just kind of like clamping down. And if you get really close, that'll work. You just kind of clamp down and lock up your muscles, especially your hands and your feet and your genitals, and it'll just kind of like physically stop you, okay? But the better way to do it is to be relaxed from the get-go, to be relaxed during the sex act, to be relaxed the way you would if you were at the most exquisite restaurant in the world, let's say the French Laundry, right? One of the best restaurants in the world, 16 courses, the courses are about this big, they're like super tiny, but they're taste sensation, it's so amazing. You're not thinking at all about the next course, right? If you go to the symphony, you're not waiting till the last note. So being relaxed and enjoying every little bit takes it away from that goal orientation or that need to go over the edge. And you'll find that your energy, your vitality increases, then it moves up through the higher centers, the heart and the mind. Your heart, you're more loving. Your mind, you're more insightful, more bright, more intelligent, like that. Okay, so that's a little tip. It's one of the central tantric practices.
Well, and you become a vortex of energy and presence, which is something that I just love and appreciate about Erwan. I love it. And so I'm going to show you something. Don't get mad at me. But this is an example. See this? See these beautiful women? Okay, just look at these gorgeous women, and then there's Erwan,
now,
and here we are, right?
I'm the least important part of that pic, honestly, right? Because you weren't looking at me. You were looking at the ladies, right?
Yes.
The ladies are what made that
all my friends.
Interesting. But guys, if you're a vortex of presence, if you're paying attention to what she wants, your special one or whoever's in your life, or if you're single, the women in your life, right? It really increases that energy, and then women start to send her energy your way, and it's a beautiful, beautiful acceleration.
So for women, in terms of how to do this, it's how to increase your turn on and your sexual appetite. I mean, to put it simply, where your attention goes, things grow. So putting your attention on your sex and your sex center and the touches and tastes and smells in your life, and that you're pleasured and that you're focusing on your body. I mean, you can do that with me right now. I'm focusing on my whole sex center and your genitals and just feeling that.
And, we're giving you an image to look at so that you can really feel the vibe of it, right? We were recently in Mexico. Actually, it was a while ago in Mexico. Definitely not recently, right? Like, not during the pandemic. We were not in Mexico, right? But you can feel, these are some pictures we're going to put up on our Instagram soon. But you can feel the vibe, the feeling,
yes,
the energy of it.
And feel your own body now. As you're looking at these images and you're taking them in with your eyes and with your heart and with your body, that is the key to increasing your sex energy. And you can do that now.
And the feminine has a very important part to play in that. The feminine is often discounted, right? So the feminine is let me bring that picture back. This is we had a student who got a tattoo. If you become a student of ours, or if you're in Master of Relationship already, you don't need to get a tattoo. Don't worry about it. But one student did decide to get a tattoo to really that's where the femininity and that energy is. This is another whole part of Tantra that distinguishes it from other types of practices.
This reminds him to pay attention to her.
Now, this is an image, I thought this was funny. What not to do.
Don't do this, guys.
Yeah, do one part of it, but, not the other part. I just thought that was kind of funny. So now if you're single, sometimes people ask us, what do you do with your sexual energy if you're single? Well, Tantric practice was largely for people who were single, actually. There was obviously sexual practice and romantic practice, but it was about contacting that feminine and that masculine between two people or in yourself, right? Because we all have feminine and masculine, right? Now, you may be more feminine or you may be more masculine. In fact, we're going to do a topic soon about femininity and masculinity and escaping the constraints of conservatism, right? Those sort of fixed constraints, and escaping the constraints of the politically correct, those equally fixed constraints, so that you can locate your femininity, your masculinity, how it feels for you. So Tantric practice is very much for people who are single, as much for people who are single as for people who are coupled, to feel both of those energies in yourself, including your sex center, and circulating them, channeling them, moving them, but most importantly, contacting that magic that happens when the masculine meets the feminine, right? That kind of electrical burst.
So let's do a little practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would
you lead us through some practice, babe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'd like everybody to do is we're going to do some energetic practice. So let yourself get back in your best meditation position, but bring your hands in front of your body. And gaze at your hands, just like Alicia and I are doing. Just gaze at your hands. And notice that you can feel your gaze. Right? You can feel your gaze and acknowledge that. Maybe it feels cool, maybe it feels tingly, maybe it feels moist. And then gently turn your hands towards each other and kind of move them back and forth, closer and further away from each other, so that you can feel that magnetic attraction. And then also that magnetic sensation. I don't want to use the word repulsion, it's too negative, but you know how like if you put two positive poles of a magnet together, they kind of like spread apart. So notice that pull and that push, and let your hands just kind of dance with each other. And notice that if you concentrate, you can increase that energy. Right? So this is where we started the class, noticing that energy, feeling that energy. Now we're going to go to a deeper place. I'd like you to take your hands and kind of, they're at chest level, but aim them at your genitals, right? We've got, 130 people in the class tonight. What happens when 130 people feel their genitals and aim that energy there and include that part of yourself? What does that feel like? So you not only have your own attention, you have the whole group, the whole class. Let yourself feel that. Notice what that's like. To include this, that you're at the safety of your own home, you're not even touching yourself. What's it like? And you're not going to tonight, it's very safe. Just include that part of yourself energetically. Your hands can move further away like Alicia and I are doing. God, it feels achy, it feels yummy, it feels energetic,
Warm.
Warm, enthusiastic.
Feels
It's
so good.
palpable. Feel that. Now what I'd like you to do is stay with your genitals, but aim your hands at your belly center. So you kind of bring the energy a little bit up your spine. Keep the vital center active. Keep that switch on. That's fundamental to tantric practice. Now bring in the whole body. Your hands are focused on your belly center. Notice what it's like to bring that energy up. Move it to your solar plexus, kind of aim your hands at your solar plexus, go up your spine. The concentration is essential, the yes is essential, the keeping your inner critic out of it is essential, the sensitivity is essential. Then to your heart, the human heart. Right? We talked about connecting your heart and your sex center. We're doing it now. What's it like to have your sex center and your heart connected with over 100 people doing that at the same time? Then aiming your hands up towards the head center. The head center is magnificent, transcendent, the mind. But it's like a sharp knife. It can easily be misused. Right? We can go very mental and get into concepts and psychological issues. That's a lot of the work Alicia and I do with people. So just kind of skip all that, all the concepts and the thinking, and just feel the head center connected to the sexual center, just like the heart is connected to the sexual center, just like the body. And then let your hands aim above your head. Right? So all of you, we could say the spiritual center or consciousness or reality, all of you is included. And now just let your hands descend, palm open, dropping onto your lap, aimed upwards. So you're just feeling that sex, body, heart, mind, spirit, up the spine, down the front. And using the boost of over 100 people doing that simultaneously to really boost it for you. And if that's challenging, just notice that, right? If the inner critic comes in, or there's some difficulty or shame or negativity, or just notice that, it's fine. And just breathe the energy up the back, down the front, including the sex center. So that you're not learning about the tantric approach, you're practicing it, you're feeling it. We're doing it together. It's very heart-centered. It's very consciousness-centered. That's what makes it go right, to really include the sex center. That's why we don't have to exclude it like a lot of religious practices and cultural practices exclude it, because we're really bringing in the heart, the mind, and consciousness. Now, Alicia is going to share an example of how that can go. We're going to get a little bit into extended orgasm practice, so just kind of let yourself stay in that receptivity, that openness. And as she's sharing about how she learned about extended orgasm, which is in many ways the peak of tantric practice, open heart, open mind, open spirit, and open sex center. So there's no control, total release. Does wonders for your sex life, does wonders for your relationship life. I could never leave Alicia. I can't even imagine that, right? I could talk about it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like amazing, like that. And it's pure bliss, pure light, pure consciousness, totally innocent.
You know, many of you here have seen a demonstration of extended orgasm, either in person or on video in one of our recent courses. So you've seen it. Some of you haven't yet, but you will. And people often ask me, well, how did you get into doing that? You know, how did you decide, okay, I want to go up in front of a bunch of people and show them that I'm having an extended orgasm while Erwan's stroking on my clitoris, right? So I'm like, why? So the story about this is, now, way back when, I was at a pleasure course, okay? And it was like in the early days, okay? This is me. This is the age that I first did my demonstration of extended orgasm. And I was there and somebody asked for a demonstration and Erwan said, hey, you want to do a demonstration of extended orgasm in front of everybody? And I didn't even have time to think. And I said yes. And I just went for it. By the way, that's a great way to live life. So I laid down in the position and Erwan sat up by my side and there was this beautiful music on. And, we'll show you this is what the position looks like. See, I've come a long way. I have blonde hair. It's a wig. And he stroked my clitoris. Everybody watched. And I swear to God, the room was vibrating with love. And I felt so safe, so blissed out, so turned on. It was a room of about 30 people. And I remember sitting up afterwards to kind of face the crowd. And I looked right into my roommate at the time, Carrie. I looked right into her eyes and she went, goddess. She said, goddess. And I was like, I'm a goddess. And it was just this beautiful moment of really feeling that goddess energy, that love, that bliss, that orgasm. So that's how I got into it. And as you can see, I have not stopped. I have only accelerated. You can see here, this is one of our last demonstrations of extended orgasm we did in front of a big group. Soon, next month, we'll be having an extended orgasm course online, and we'll be showing a new video that we've put together of a demonstration. So you might want to be there for that if you haven't seen that yet, because it's quite a sight.